Planet Dolan.
From a cult meeting to explosive science experiments, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about the craziest things that happened at school. I'm Melissa, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by Daichiaki. One day, when James Shark was a freshman at his new school, he decided to bring firecrackers. As he was lighting them, his water polo coach came out and immediately made him pick them up using his bare hands. Next, while wearing nothing but his jammers, James Shark was forced to run around the pool while the firecrackers that were slung over his shoulder began to burst on his back. He ended up in the hospital with his back on ice. At least his coach ended up getting fired. Number 9 was submitted by BendyTheFriendly. When Dolan was in high school, he once saw a kid who was known to be shady under the main desk. He told Dolan, "Shh, I'm getting my phone back, dingus." The kid proceeded to make duck noises while taking out a packet of cocaine. He poured it on the chair, but when the woman returned from wherever she was, she sat down and the cocaine was spewed everywhere. The teacher snickered before getting up and running away. Later on, he was arrested for possession of an illegal drug. Apparently, he was also planning on shooting Dolan and his friends. Number 8 was submitted by BlueWolfie7799. One time, at Andy's school, two guys were talking shit to each other, with one threatening to beat the other one's ass. At lunch, they met again, with the one who had made a threat by picking up a lunch tray and bashing it over the head of the other guy, breaking the tray. The guy then slammed him to the floor and began punching him in the face. There was another crazy incident that happened, but was unrelated to this fight. On another day, during breakfast, the principal told everyone to go to class early. Andy didn't know what was going on until she noticed a girl who was foaming at the mouth, passed out on the floor. Paramedics showed up, and the principal rewarded everyone with gummy treats for obeying his orders. Number 7 was submitted by 67 Blue Bottom. Spinal Palm School had a code blue one day because a student had brought weed. The teachers were told not to let the students out of their classrooms, and any student in the hall had to go down to the nearest classroom. When the door opened, the cops came in and patted everyone down. If the students had anything in their pockets, they had to empty them. They also had to unzip all the pouches of their book bags. Next, the cops brought in huge dogs, with one of them stopping and looking menacingly at Spinal Palm. After checking the school, the student who was caught with the weed ended up being one of Spinal Palm's friends. His friend ended up having to go to a different school. Number 6 was submitted by Darkness Rules 34. When he was in 6th grade, Kurgak brought his phone to school to play games and watch videos like usual. He brought it to the bathroom, since on that day he didn't want to go to his world study class. After going into his usual stall, someone walked in, followed by 5 others. Kurgak shut off his phone as they began kicking open the doors. He hid behind one of the doors. When it was kicked open, the door slammed against his nose. After they closed the doors, the lights were turned off. Kurgak turned on his phone's flashlight, turning it down so nobody would see it. He looked over the stall and found everyone in a circle with knives in the middle. They were talking about something, but Kurgak couldn't make out what. Then, there was a lockdown, and people quickly grabbed their stuff and ran out. Kurgak believes he may have seen a cult. Number 5 was submitted by SgtKana. One time in science class, MKM and his classmates were doing an experiment. If a student fucked up, the whole experiment could explode. One student got distracted while doing a step, leaving a mixture of chemicals on the Bunsen burner for too long. The teacher noticed the mixture was bubbling and ran to the student, throwing himself on top of him. He yelled for everyone to get down. MKM and the other students threw themselves to the floor, just as the experiment went up like a bomb. The explosion caused a chain reaction, and the other experiments began to explode. A window next to MKM was blown up from one of the other explosions, and he got covered with broken shards of glass. Everyone, including the teacher, had to go to the emergency room afterward. MKM ended up getting 13 stitches and several scars on his back. Number 4 was submitted by huggalumpmcwoozle. When she was in 6th grade, Froggy went on a school campout for students moving up to middle school. Froggy and her friend Ramona were made to share a tent with a girl they didn't like very much. They decided to suck it up and be friendly, but the girl kept asking them to take her to the bathroom. It was a 2-minute walk from the tent, and they took her there 3 times. When Froggy and Ramona were about to snuggle up in their sleeping bags, the girl asked if one of them could take her again. Fed up, they refused and told her she had to go by herself. So she pulled down her pants and took a shit in the tent. They made her clean it up, but were forced to spend the entire night in the tent with her. Number 3 was submitted by Nyoko the Nico. At Hellbent's old school, the seniors did various pranks that were insane. When he was a senior, Hellbent and some of the other seniors let pigs run loose in the hallways. Then they let chickens loose in the vents. After that, they put firecrackers everywhere so that people would get spooked when they were triggered. Finally, they filled pop cans with honey, sugar, and other sweets. They then threw the filled cans into the vents to attract bees. However, after that huge prank, the school decided to no longer allow senior pranks. Number 2 was submitted by One Lucky Winner. Pandora was sitting in her Spanish class, listening to the teacher talking in Spanish. Just when she was about to fall asleep, some random kid knocked on her door. The teacher opened it, and the kid yelled, "Hey, I fucked this teacher! She loved it when I cuffed her and fucked her raw!" After that, he walked out. The teacher was blushing and in shock. The whole class, excluding Pandora, made fun of her. The teasing continued for most of the class until the teacher decided to walk out. Pandora walked after her as she entered the bathroom. She told the teacher that the whole thing would blow over and spoke some kind words to her. Later that day, the kid was arrested for sexual harassment, had to do a month of community service, and was suspended for 1 week. He did the same thing to all the female teachers in the wing of that school. And number 1, the weirdest thing that happened in my school. In grade 5, I had a bodybuilder for a French teacher, and his name was Mr. D. Actually though, that was his name. And I'm not kidding about the bodybuilder thing. He competed in everything. He'd walk around all macho-like, with his chest puffed out, and would wear shirts that looked as if they'd rip at any time. A few weeks into class, he started dealing out punishments for kids that didn't do their homework. 20 push-ups per day late. One obnoxious and slightly overweight kid named Fred complained about this to his mother, who came into class the next day to complain about it to her teacher. Turns out, Mr. D ended up convincing his mother to attend a fitness class and enroll Fred in a sports team. Huge thanks for all the folks over on our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What's something you got blamed for but didn't do? Let us know in the Reddit page linked below, and you might be featured in a future countdown.
This video was made possible by our fans over on Patreon. Thank you for the support, guys.
Catch you guys next time.